Hi, I'm Harry. Welcome back to our foam rolling and mobility class. Today we're going to start from our feet and work our way up a little bit. So obviously feet, super important. Loads of muscles, loads of joints, loads of plantar fascia, lots of nerve endings. So it's really important to have strong and mobile feet. Especially if you're not walking around barefoot a lot at home, take a little bit of time just to give them a bit of TLC. So the first thing we're going to do, nice foam rolling through the sole of your foot. So especially focus on the inner arch. So that's where your plantar fascia is, and this is really nice if you wear high heels a lot or on a shop floor, standing all day. Really nice to just iron out some of those kinks and just spend a little bit of time going through that. And just change the angle. So I'm on the middle hump of the Manta roller, and I find that's really nice. And switch, come on to the other one. And change the angle a little bit. Whoa. Brilliant. And I'm going to start using the central prongs now, just to get a little bit deeper. So it's right in the center of my foot, and I'm just rolling the foot, roll into the gap in between, and really getting into those central muscles. Lots of them control your toes, the plantar fascia. So people that have, most of you would have heard of plantar fasciitis, when that tendon across the sole of your foot gets a bit sore and a bit inflamed. It's really nice to roll it out. Oh, brilliant. And then switch last time. Try and use the central prongs. If you find this too much, then by all means go back to using the sort of outer humps. Oh, it's really nice. If you get really confident, you can start doing a little bit of two-footed stuff on the, just to get into those, onto those full weight-bearing massage if you've got the balance. But for most of us, one at a time is good enough. Okay. Oh, that's so nice. Okay, brilliant. So we've rolled out the soles of the foot. As usual though, we also want to think about strengthening. So we've got lots of intrinsic muscles in the foot which have knock-on effects from ankles, knees, all the way up. So having strong feet is really important. One of the easiest ways to start engaging the foot muscles, walking around bare feet as much as you can, but also you can do this when you're sitting down at your desk if no one's looking. We're going to be squeezing our toes together. So we're curling our toes in, and as we do that, you should just be able to see the front of this arch lifting up a little bit. So we're going to squeeze our toes, feel the inner arches lift, and we're going to hold. And it won't take long for most of us to feel a little bit of tiredness creeping in some of those muscles that we're not using as much as we could be. And relax. Lift the toes up, come down, gently squeeze as if you're sort of trying to squeeze the mat towards you a little bit, and hold. And relax. Lift your toes up, squeeze. So feeling those arches lifting up on the inside. And relax. Lift, last one. Squeeze up, lift, and hold. and relax. Well done. Come onto your toes, onto your heels, onto your toes, onto your heels. What we're going to do now is another really nice stretch. So when we're walking or running, our mobility in our big toe is really important because that is where we push off from. So if you don't have enough extension through your big toe, when you're walking or running and wanting to push off, if you can't get all the way up, you're going to end up getting the movement somewhere. So often your body rolls and you start putting much more pressure on the joint below the big toe. That's often how bunions start forming, how you get some arthritis in that area. So keeping your big toes nice and mobile into extension is really important. So what we're going to do, we're going to use our foam roller as a prop. We're going to come onto our toes and then drop the knees down. Okay, we're keeping the knees just off the floor. So you're not resting on the floor, you're keeping them just off. Excellent to get a little bit more of a stretch coming through the soles of your foot. Excellent for getting and keeping your big toe being able to move into extension. It's a really important movement. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it really affects how you walk and run, which affects everything else. Brilliant, just rock back and forwards. Great, come back up. The next thing we're going to do is a really nice calf stretch. So your calf has multiple muscles. Most of us just think of this big gastroc, which you see in cyclists bulging when they're going up hills. If you're suffering with anything like plantar fasciitis, anything like Achilles tendinopathy or Achilles issues down at the back, often the more important muscle is your soleus. So your soleus is actually more powerful than your gastroc. It sits lower in this sort of lower half of your calf, but often gets overlooked. That's because every time we do a straight-legged stretch, we're actually hitting the gastroc and not the lower soleus. So what we're going to do instead, one foot slightly behind the other, bend both your knees and drop your weight down, and you should feel it coming through this back lower calf. This one I do on rest days in the evening. I wouldn't necessarily do it directly before sport. You shouldn't really do static stretches just before you go and play football or anything. But it's a really nice one to do in rest times, and especially if you're suffering with Achilles issues, plantar fascia, anything like that. Again, 10 seconds or so. Come up. Let's switch. So one foot slightly behind the other. Bend both your knees, because as we bend the knee, we're taking the pressure off the upper gastroc, dropping the weight down and feeling it in that lower calf. Great. Switch. And switch. And when it does come to stretching, little and often is usually the preferred method, in my opinion. So rather than doing sort of a once a week, a big 3-hour stretch session, just try and tweak it into your daily life. This is an easy one you can do without looking like too much of an idiot when you're waiting for a tube or going up the escalators or something. Okay, great. Let's take it a step further. So we're now going to do some foam rolling of the calf. If you're new, the shape of the Manta foam roller allows you to get slightly different pressure areas. So we're going to start off light, so that's using the outer curve, If you want to take it a step up, you use the middle humps. If you want to be really nice and mean, use the central prongs. But to begin with, we're going to start with both legs, both ankles, or just above the ankles in the outer curve on both sides. We're going to use our arms. Now, you don't want to start with your arms too far behind you, because as you stretch out, you get very uncomfortable. So start with your arms relatively close to your body, lift up a little bit, and we're just going to do nice, slow calf rolling to begin with. This is quite gentle. So if you're thinking about warm-ups, then doing something like this, like if you're doing a warm-up, you kind of want to go a bit faster, but a bit lighter. For recovery and mobility, you want to go a bit slower and a bit deeper. So this is a nice, gentle one to start with. Brilliant. And I tend to break down the calf into half. So I'll do the lower half, and then we'll move it up. Start further up. Again, if your hands get tired, or if you've got wrist issues, feel free to get onto your knuckles just to keep your wrist in neutral. Again, rolling through. This is quite gentle at the moment, but a good place to start. Brilliant. And we're going to take it up another little notch. So now we're going to do one-legged. So I'm going to use the central prongs. If you want to, you can use the middle ones or the outer ones, whichever you prefer. The reason we switch it up is because as we're foam rolling one at a time, we can then change the angle. So we can turn our foot in to get those muscles, fibres on the inside. Keep it straight to get the middle ones, and out to get the most lateral ones. And just keep it rotating nice and slowly. Great. Now, you'll probably find when you're doing especially lower limb foam rolling like calves, it's quite a lot on your shoulders. Lots of people get tired, that's totally normal. So what we're going to do to mix it up a little bit, we're going to take the foam roller and have it right in the middle. So where your sort of big gastroc muscle joins your soleus, there's often a tight sort of fascial knot. And we're going to keep our pelvis on the floor. We're going to cross our other leg over to apply a little bit of weight going down. And then we're just going to pump our toes. So that muscle is moving up and down. I'm maintaining the pressure over my leg and the foam roller so that it's going to work over the foam roller. And then I'm just going to change the position slightly. So this is a nice way to break it up if you're getting tired on your shoulders, through your shoulders, and then a slightly different position again. Maintain that weight, and you can also do some circles one way, circles the other, or so this is really good. One of the things foam rolling is really good at is helping speed up recovery. So especially sort of runners, athletes, people like that. Let's switch and just do the other side as I keep yammering on. We're going to go one-legged, turning the foot in, straight and out. Yeah, it's really good for helping muscles recover. So if you're prone to suffering with DOMS, sort of delayed onset muscle soreness, it's a really nice way to help with the lymphatics, improve circulation, and speeds up muscle recovery. So it's a really nice one to do after a heavy exercise session. Great. And then we're going to do the same again. So we're going to give our shoulders a bit of a break. Cross over. So we've got weight going through. If you want to make it harder, you can lift up and do exactly the same thing. And that is way more powerful. But I think for most of us, if you want a little break, Let's just do up and down. Use the other leg to push down a little bit. And then we'll do a few circles one way. Yeah, a few circles the other. Brilliant. And up and down. And then let's just change the position. So find another sore spot or sweet spot, whether you're positive or pessimistic. Circles. Right. And let's go a little bit lower to finish with on this side. Brilliant, well done. Foam rolling calves, when they're very tight, you have to start a little bit slowly and work your way up to it. If you go full-blown, full steam ahead from the very beginning, the calves will be fine, but they will be a bit achy afterwards, but that's totally normal. So just sort of ease your way into it as you would with anything else. Let's move on to the hamstrings. So the hamstrings are the muscles that go from the base of your pelvis all the way to your knee. They're one of the most commonly strained muscles in the body. And what's interesting about hamstrings is you don't pull them when you're pulling your knee heel up towards your bottom. It's actually when you're especially sprinting and you're rolling through and you're using these muscles to slow down the extension of the lower half of the leg. So these muscles are working really hard at high velocity, and they're working as they've also got to lengthen, which is why it's really important to have strong but flexible hamstrings so they can deal with the extension as they go to slow down the lower half of the leg when you're sprinting. So, because they're quite nice and fat on most of us, I think you can usually dive into using the central prong straight away. If that's too much, then by all means use the outer curve and do it 2 at a time rather than one at a time. But as I'm sure you kind of guessed, start with a foam roller just above the knee. Nice and slow movements coming up. Again, there are 3 muscles in your hamstrings, so turn your foot out to get the outer one, straight to get the central, and turn it in to get the last one. Again, we're going to take it up a notch, so to make it a little bit harder, cross your opposite leg over, just to apply a little bit more weight, because they're such thick muscles that to get deeper, you need a bit of help usually. Now, you'll find it's a little bit harder to turn the foot, but just do the best you can. If you're new to it or not comfortable, just keep the foot straight, a little bit of pressure going over and just rolling up and down. Perfect. Let's switch. So we'll start one at a time. Let me come from the other angle. So just above the knee, central prongs, hands not too far away, and coming through that. Turn the foot in, have it straight, and turn the leg out. Brilliant. Let's just finish off with this coming tight over here. Lovely. And as a final gift, let's do the nice neck one. I'm always talking about how much I love this exercise. If you're one of those rare people that hates it, I'm so sorry that I forced you to do it, or at the end of every session. If you don't like it, take 30 seconds to a minute and do focus on another area. I won't be offended, as I'll never know. Perfect. Come and sit up. I hope you found that useful and helpful. Any questions, feel free to reach out, and hopefully I'll see you next time.